Nintendo may not be releasing their own games, but there are new games to play on the eShop. I've got 5 I'm going to tell you about today that you definitely need to pick up, and we are starting right now. What's up, guys? Welcome back, or welcome in for the first time. If you are new here, do me a favor, make sure you hit that red subscribe button down there. And before we jump into this, I want to give a shout out to a big sponsor of the channel, and that is Evergate. If you guys are in the market for an absolutely amazing gaming chair, make sure you check the link in the description. It's the one that says my chair. But seriously, these things are above and beyond any other chair I have ever sat in. They've got a ton of different styles and colors to choose from, and honestly, you really can't go wrong with any of them. I've got this black one here and another white and black one at home from their P line, and I gotta say, I sit in the one at home more than I sit in the recliner that's right beside it, so that's definitely saying something about the comfort. But again, huge thank you to Evergate for being a sponsor of this channel. Make sure you guys check the link in the description to get one of these amazing chairs on the way to you today. Okay, so like I said, Nintendo has not been putting out many games themselves, but we have got a decent amount of games on the eShop lately. With the indie showcase a few weeks ago and some other stuff being shadow dropped from previous indie showcases, we've actually got a good amount of games to play, and a lot of them are really, really good. And the first one that I want to talk about today, I actually just did a full review on, so I'll go ahead and link that here if you're interested, but that game is Windbound. Now, as I said in the full review, I was really looking forward to this game, and for the most part, I think it delivered. It had a few issues that have now been resolved that we'll talk about in a second, but essentially what you need to know about Windbound is it is a survival game. It does have elements of an action-adventure game, but that's really not the focus. Those kind of take a backseat to the survival elements in this game. So when the game starts, you are thrown from your boat, you wash up on this island, and you have to start crafting weapons and tools, and gather a ton of stuff and get it all together to build a boat back up so you can go from island to island and look for what I'm pretty sure are keys, but they set off these beacons, and there's 3 in each set of islands that you come across. Once you get these 3 keys, you can go to the main island, unlock the portal at the top of that, and continue with the game. Now, these portals will take you into a whole nother part of the game, which I explained in the review as like a sailing challenge, but in this game, most of what you're doing is crafting, surviving, and sailing. And the sailing is a lot like Wind Waker, which in my opinion is not a bad thing. Actually, I think it's a good thing. Just make sure you don't get this one for the story though. I felt like they put a lot of emphasis on the story and how good it was going to be, but I didn't get any story in it really at all. And it did have some serious frame rate issues, and it crashed like 5 times when I played it, but as far as I can tell, those issues have been fixed. So with those being resolved, I can definitely recommend this one now, but I also recommend you go watch the full review before you pick this one up. Okay, so the next one that I played through this past weekend was Evergate. This one is a puzzle platformer with a visual style, I would say something along the lines of like Ori or maybe Hollow Knight. So the actual story seems pretty decent in this one, a lot better than Windbound, that's for sure. But without ruining anything, I'll give you a little bit of the setup here. So you start the game as this little soul or a spirit, I can't remember what they call it. So in some way, not explained in the beginning of the game, you are able to jump into these memories. But these memories are not your own, and that's kind of a little bit of a mystery in the beginning. So as you jump into these memories, they're actually platforming puzzles. And you use the solar flame, I think it's called, to shoot through an essence, which I'm gonna be showing you right here. There are these little gems, and you have to shoot through those into a glowing surface. And the first ones are orange, and they give you a boost up so you can jump higher. The second ones are green, I think, and they put a platform underneath of you. But as you progress through the game, they start stacking these on top of each other in levels, and you get new ones as you keep going. So at first, the puzzles are pretty simple and straightforward, but as they start stacking, it gets a lot more intense. I would say about midway through the second memory into the third, it really starts to ramp up the difficulty. So if you're looking for a good puzzle platforming challenge, I would say definitely check this one out. Okay, so number 3 on our list is Raji. Now this one is gonna play a little bit more like an old school Prince of Persia, or maybe like an old God of War, not the new God of War, the old style God of War. It is extremely linear in the way the game's played, and the camera angle is fixed. So some of the platforming does kind of suffer from that a little bit, but it's really not a big deal. Once you get used to the controls, it's no problem. So in this one, you play as an acrobat named Raji, and your little brother is taken by these demons. So the story in the beginning is actually told through these animations that are kind of like puppets. I think these are done pretty well, and honestly, I do think it does fit the overall tone of the game. So there is a good bit of that in the beginning, but once you get into the game, those only pop up here and there. So a lot of the other story that's told kind of as you're playing the game is narrated by the gods. So you don't actually see them, but they talk as you move through the game a lot. And sometimes they're talking to each other, or sometimes they're talking to you. They talk pretty much the whole time. But as you move through the game, the gods will give you different weapons that you can upgrade and, you know, start to learn different moves with. And there is a skill tree involved, which was kind of weird to get used to, but once you figure that all out, it's totally fine. It's not that big of a deal. It is a little bit confusing at first, I will admit that. But there are also some very light puzzle elements in this game with like spinning discs on the ground that'll make a picture. And then there are these statues that kind of look like rock trees that you have to spin around. So a lot of spinning, but those only come every once in a while, and they're not a huge part of the game, but they are in there. But overall, I really enjoyed this game. The story's decent enough. I enjoyed the climbing, which sometimes could be frustrating, but most of that was due to the locked camera angle. And I also like the combat in this game. Other than the slight frame rate issues here and there, this game is beautiful, and I definitely recommend checking this one out. Okay, so any of you guys who watch my live streams or watched the Indie Direct with me a few weeks ago when it aired know that A Short Hike was not a game that I was very excited about at all. I had zero interest in this game when I first saw it, and honestly, I really did not like the way it looked. Like, I understand that it's an art style, I get it. I just don't like how far they took the art style, if that makes any sense. And honestly, I still kind of don't, but this game is so good that I can totally overlook that. And I've got to say, of the 5 games on this list, this one is definitely one of my favorites. Now, this game is a short, and I mean short, experience. A Short Hike is a very accurate title. It is short, but it also only cost $8. I think it took me about maybe 2 hours to go through the whole thing, and I didn't really go through and get all the side stuff. I kind of went, you know, right up the mountain. I just really wanted to get through it to see what was gonna happen once you got to the top, because, you know, that's kind of the point of the game. You start at the bottom of the mountain and you've got to get to the top, but to do that, you have to collect these golden feathers, which are gonna let you climb higher, and they're gonna let you flap your wings longer so you can fly higher as well. The whole point is to go up. But as I said a minute ago, there's all kinds of different things you can do on the mountain as you're making your way up. There's all kinds of side missions, helping people find shovels and things that they've lost. And honestly, you can spend a ton of time just jumping off of a cliff and gliding around. The flying mechanics in this game, I think, are amazing. But a little more about the mountain itself, it's kind of like its own little open world. You can go anywhere you want on the mountain, and it's a pretty big mountain, actually. And it really is full of life. There are a ton of people all over the mountain, down on the beaches. As you go up, there's more and more people. The island's just full. Now, one thing I will say about the look of this game, I do not like the way it looks on a TV. I think the art style they went with does not work at all on a TV. But in handheld mode, it looks fine. That's how I played most of the game. I did finish it on the TV here yesterday, which, you know, it's fine on the TV. It's not my preferred way to play. I would say keep to handheld mode with this one. But as far as gameplay goes, for $8, if you've got a few hours to kill, I could not recommend a game more. Okay, the last game I want to talk about on this list is The Last Campfire. This game is definitely my favorite on the list. Definitely. Now this, like Windbound, was another one we saw on an indie showcase, I'm pretty sure back towards the beginning of the year. But in this game, there is no combat at all. This one is all based around the puzzles, and let me tell you, the puzzles in this game are amazing. Some of them are nice and short, confined into one little room, and some of them you have to go, you know, all the way across the pieces of the map that they let you explore. They're just great. The game itself is just amazing. It does have frame rate issues though. I'll tell you that before we get any further into this. It has frame rate issues, but in my opinion, a game like this, frame rate doesn't really matter all that much. And yeah, while it does suck to deal with the frame rate, and I'm sure they'll probably fix it, this game is good enough to ignore the frame rate issues and just go ahead and get it. I also love the way the story is told in this game. As you progress through the game, there is a narrator who's actually fully voice acted that just talks the whole time you're playing. Well, not the whole time, but if you're going the right direction, she's probably gonna give you a piece of the story. And I think she has, I wanna say it's a French accent. I could be wrong, but whatever it is, her voice is great to listen to the whole time. The story's great. The puzzles are awesome. The game looks amazing. Other than the frame rate issues, the game looks great. It looks so good. I think even though at times there are some big hiccups in the frame rate, this one is good enough to go ahead and get anyway. But I do hope that they get that fixed. Other than that, the game's great. So guys, those are the 5 games I have for you today. If there's a game on the eShop that I did not mention that you think I should check out, leave it in the comments below. Also guys, all my social media links are in the description. Check those out. There is also a link to become a member of this channel. You get some cool perks, including behind the scenes photos through the week that I take as I'm doing, you know, things like this and some other stuff that I have going on that you can't see off camera right now. But make sure you guys check all that out. Leave me a comment down below about the games you think I should check out on the eShop. And with all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video. Make sure you are subscribed, and we will see you in the next one.